The sun is shining, the weather is blue, and so is this car right here. Yes, it's the Renault Kiger, the latest subcompact SUV to hit the Indian market. It is also now the most affordable subcompact SUV that you can buy, displacing Nissan Magnite, which was launched late last year. But what is it about this product that makes it a premium offering and a marquee product in the Renault India's product lineup? I'm Shubhadeep, this is HT Auto, and we'll be telling you everything you need to know about the Renault Kiger. The Kiger has already been launched in the Indian market and it starts at Rs 5.45 lakhs. It's offered in 4 variants, 3 transmission options which include a manual, an automatic and a CVT transmission. There are also 6 color choices for you and 5 tech additional packs. The Kiger in Renault India's portfolio will sit above the Triber and the Kwid. And while it may look slightly similar to the Kwid from the face, there is much more happening on the exterior design profile. Now, much like how the Magnite's front grille is similar, almost identical to what we find in Datsun cars, at first glance, the Kiger's face looks similar to that of the Kwid. But beyond the first glance, this clearly is the big brother of the Kwid. So yes, while the LED DRLs sort of look similar, the overall profile, there is an emphasis on being a little more muscular, a little bit more sporty. And that in the segment should work really well for the Kiger. Just take a look at the sculpted bonnets. It's beefed up. There are these nice lines here which give it a more athletic appearance. The grille is more pronounced. There is these black paddings here that sort of give it a refreshed appeal. Very, very interesting are these LED headlight units here. They look really, really smart because of how they're designed. Each are in a casing of its own and look very premium. Of course, these you'll get in the upper variants of the car. Now, over at the side, it is very clear that the designers at Renault have tried to not make it overly muscular. Yes, it is from the front, but from the side, this car is more coupe-ish crossed with an SUV. So the roof has its swooping elements which give it that crossover genetics a little bit from here. The 16-inch alloys, of course, are very premium. The SUV emphasis is again very evident from these very, very large wheel arches here. But overall, if you see the window line, there is very little chrome here anywhere at all. The roof rails are functional. Renault tells us that it can withstand about 50 kilos of weight. So it's a car that's been designed for someone who's not outrightly impressed with a bulky, muscular SUV appearance, but one that is a bit of a cross with the coupe. While looks are subjective, the smartest visual elements of the Kiger is perhaps at the rear. The C-shaped LED taillights look extremely sporty. The Kiger badging and the Renault logo is also done well. The rear glass is of a decent size, so visibility from the cabin shouldn't be an issue at all. There is a little over 400 liters of boot space, which is almost at par with anything that you have in the C SUV segment. Getting the looks right from the outside is half the battle won or lost, but the other half is decided by what a subcompact SUV has on offer on the inside. So on the inside of the Kiger, there is definitely that sense of spaciousness that is very, very important to Indian families and in fact families all over. Now, just because this is a sub 4 meter SUV doesn't mean that it needs to compromise on that, and on that count, many people are doing really good things. But since we are talking about the Kiger, Renault has done a great thing about providing a sense of spaciousness. So I have a nice commanding view of the road. I can adjust the seat for an even better view of the road. There is this sense of airiness from the windows here in the front seat. There is, of course, no sunroof on any of the variants of the Kiger, which is a bit of a letdown because there is a clear demand for sunroof here in the Indian market. That said, there is a lot of storage space all around this cabin. There is storage space on the doors. There is this on the center console space where you can put in your phone. You can always put in your phone right here. There is wireless charging here, so that's great. There is also this center section. In fact, this entire center console, mostly in piano black. So yes, there are fingerprints here and dust, but looks very premium if you can maintain it. There is these nice touch. I'm not so sure about the leather bit right here, but well, should perhaps stand the test of time or not. Time will tell. The leather here, the gear lever is well within reach. Interestingly, the entire center console is actually quite high up, which adds to the credibility, the feel of this being an SUV. Love the fact that there is the AC controls with haptic feedback right here, physical buttons and not touch. So my personal preference is to always have these buttons right here. Over these, the AC vents are nothing dramatic, but they sort of blend in with the entire layout of the dash. Sitting pretty much like a crown is the 8-inch infotainment screen that sits here. It's got a nice desktop Windows wallpaper-like feel to it, and it is very responsive as well. So just a click of a button and everything is, well, very easy to reach. Most times everything is really visible on the screen. There is a little bit of screen glare and a whole lot of reflection happening, but somehow for most parts under direct sunlight, it still manages to hold on well. This car comes with the rear cam as well, so while I am not very fond of the resolution right here, it is clear to see with the grid lines to safely reverse this vehicle. My personal favorite is the 7-inch TFT screen. I think Renault has done a better job at designing, and this is my personal opinion, because if you compare it to, say, the Magnite has a very comic book graphic. In fact, when we were reviewing the Magnite, we spoke about that as well. There are people who may like it, but for me, this is a more sophisticated way of designing the TFT screen. Of course, there are elements on either side which resemble that of the Magnite, but it also has its own character. You do get these drive modes right here. It's a knob right here which can be twisted, and you can go from eco to normal to sport. And once you do get the changes on the TFT screen as well. The entire layout, the color scheme changes. The steering wheel on the Kiger can be adjusted for height, but it cannot be adjusted for reach. And for me, it is a bit of a miss. Now, speaking about the quality of materials used inside, it is hard plastic for most parts, and I'm not really surprised because of the price point at which this car is coming at. Yes, the piano black finish, like I mentioned, does tend to add a little bit of premium. Similarly, the geometric pattern here sort of gives an appearance of a little bit of premium, but you just can't hide the fact that this car has a whole lot of plastics all around it. The storage space on the dash is also very generous. So you have a space here and you have additional space right here. And this is a cooled glove box. So that is another feature to look out for. There is a whole lot of space here. So on that count, well done, Renault. What does the Kiger offer for the passengers at the rear? Let's take a look. The rear of the Kiger, well, things I really like and things I don't. Starting with the things I don't like. The window doesn't go down all the way. So again, your elbow is at an angle if you choose to sit like this. That's one. Secondly, the window itself, I spoke about how airy it is for the passengers up at the front, but for the rear, the window line is a little high, and the window size itself is perhaps a couple of sizes smaller than what I would have liked. Also don't like that my feet are a little crammed because of the rails on which these seats are at. So I don't really have much space for my feet. Leg space is just about okay. This driving seat is at my position and it's quite far back, but the leg space is just about adequate. Knee room actually is pretty generous, so that's one thing that I really like. But continuing with things I don't like, the seating position seems like it has a recline, but we were in the back seat for about an hour and the car was moving, and we figured that a bit more actual recline would have been helpful because the back got a little stiff. But that's what we don't like. What we really do like is the flat floor bed here, which means the person on the middle seat also will have enough space, or adequate space at least, for his or her feet. The center console doesn't jut back all that much. You have the rear AC vents here and a 12-volt charging socket. So there is that sense of space for the person in the middle. Now, if there is nobody in the middle, well, roll down the central armrest. Much like the Magnite, this one also comes with space for your mobile phone and cup holders right here. Overall, I won't mind being seated in the rear seat of the Kiger. On long journeys, because of the recline, I'm not so sure, but definitely in city commutes, this is a nice and comfortable place to be in. Renault is also offering several optional packs, and one of the highlights in those packs are the ambient lights. Here are all the highlights of the optional packs on offer in the Kiger. Now about the crucial aspect about how good the Kiger is to drive. The Kiger is offered by Renault in two engine options. There's this 1 litre naturally aspirated petrol motor and the 1 litre turbocharged petrol motor. And no, there is no diesel on the Kiger either. We are inside the turbocharged engine. It is mated to a 5-speed manual gearbox. You can also have this engine with the CVT option, and somehow I feel that would be the preferred choice for many who may not be on an absolutely tight budget. But since we are in this car with the manual transmission, let's just start with this gearbox. The 5-speed gearbox slots itself relatively well. It's definitely not the slickest and the most to the point, something that you would find in the Korean cars that the Kiger competes against. But as long as you are not overly aggressive with this gearbox, it shouldn't be a problem to get a move on. The Kiger is not going to win any drag race, and it's better that you don't, even though this one is powered by that turbo engine which is producing about 97 PS of power and 160 Nm of torque. It's best for people who want a relaxed, reassuring drive, whether in city or highway conditions. But as long as you're not trying to take Kiger out on a thrill ride experience, a thrill drive experience, it should fit the bill for the family buyer. The Kiger takes a bit of time to actually get a move on, especially between the 12 and 1500 RPM band, but once it does hit the mark beyond 1500, it sort of gets into its element and moves with a sense of purpose. Again, I keep underlining the fact that it's not the most swift, the most agile, the most exciting, even in this turbo engine option, but it does have its sweet spots in that RPM band and it hangs on to it really well. Now, another thing that helps the drive character of the Kiger is the steering wheel, which is nicely weighted. It's not very light, it's not very heavy, but there is this sense of reassurance even when you are speeding on open highway roads. It stays, for most parts, relatively steady. There is a bit of a problem with the steering wheel calibration. I'm not going to get into the technical details, but when you are taking the sharp turns, the steering wheel does not rotate to its original position with as much of urgency as you would find in most other cars. Now, on broken roads like this one, the Kiger sort of holds itself well, relatively well. That's mostly thanks to a suspension setup that's on the stiffer side. But on the flip side, there is definitely noticeable body roll for passengers, especially at the rear. So when you're taking turns and you go a little urgent, yeah, there is that very noticeable body roll that's definitely taking a few points away from the Kiger. As I previously mentioned, the fact that I have a nice commanding view of the road gives me that reassuring feel. That's something that buyers in any of the SUV segments really look forward to. So on that count, the Kiger does do a good job. Renault recently has been playing the India game really well. Take the instance of the Triber, which sits in the affordable MPV segment, or the Kwid, which is a strong performer in its segment, and now the Kiger, which promises to take the sales to another level. It will compete in a really fierce segment with one that saw the launch of the Nissan Magnite towards the end of last year. If you haven't checked out that review, you can do so by clicking this link right here. And for this car, you can also check out an in-depth written review, which is in the descriptor. For now, what do you make of this car? Do let us know. Thank you so much for watching. As always, stay safe, drive safe. This is me, Shubhadeep, signing off.